This computer. All right, here we are. Hey, everybody. So I'm here today again, just another YouTube video to talk about just what doesn't work about Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. And we here have Wesley with me, who reached out to me through the internet and saw some of my videos. And we just started to talk. I just felt compelled to say yes and talk to him, which I did. And you know, he said he wanted to talk and do this YouTube, and I hadn't really had anybody contact me who had this experience with Suboxone and wanted to talk about it. And just yeah, so I think we could just dive right in, because you said some really powerful stuff when we were talking on the phone the other day.
Okay, and how do you want to do this? Do you want to ask me a question? Would you want me to talk about my experience with AA?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so let's start with what compelled you to reach out to me? We'll start there and maybe we'll go backwards.
Okay, okay, so I'm coming off the back end of being quarantined with COVID. So I was on Facebook pedal paddling around or whatever. And I saw somebody comment on Facebook. I forget what the post was, but it was like,
yeah,
what do I need to do to better my life or something in the recovery aspect or whatever? And somebody just commented just the 12 steps. And so then I intervened and proceeded to go back and forth with this person. And then Beverly Renee, I think that's her last name, Renee,
yeah,
who you're familiar with and have done something with, reached out to me, and we just got back and forth talking, communicating, and sharing our experiences. And then she put me onto your podcast. And while I was quarantined, I listened to several of your podcasts, and I liked some of the stuff you had to say.
Mm-hmm. Great. And so tell us about what you were going through with your problematic drug use and how you got out of that. How about there?
Okay. All right, so that's going to be a story in itself. So I'm 38 years old. I have struggled with alcoholism and drug addiction. I want to say probably my whole life. We're going to look at the behaviors that are associated with it. But as far as actual substance use, I started using substances when I was probably 16. Mm-hmm. Started weed. And then I went through the natural progression, the natural stages. Went through Xanax then and alcohol from about 18 until about 20, 21. Mm-hmm. And then was ecstasy and cocaine from about 21 to about 26, 27. Then I broke my arm and got hooked on pain pills. And so that led to heroin addiction, and that was prevalent from 26 to 32-ish, 33-ish. Wow. And lastly, but not least, but crystal meth was the last one. That's the one that kicked my butt the most. That's the one that's been the most prevalent the last 3 or 4 years. So I've had to experience each and every drug and get addicted to it for me to learn my lesson and to finally get to a point to where it was like, that's enough.
Right. So I'm just this is, just more about the sound. So is someone else doing dishes or something in the background, or are you doing dishes, or?
No, I'm out to eat at a restaurant.
You're at a restaurant?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So there's nothing you could really.
Too loud.
No, yeah, it was really weird. I could really hear it, but it's funny. The sound, it sounds like it's over there, but it's picking it up, really loud, but it's okay. If this is, it stopped now. So they were cleaning up the table near you.
Yeah.
All right. It's okay now. I'd like to address something that you said, because it's something that I think is so harmful, is about behavior, leading to drug and alcohol overuse or abuse. And, one of the things I've really tried is to change my language around all this stuff, which is to not use the word alcoholic, to not use the word addict, to just say problematic drug and alcohol use, which was very, very difficult at first, because it's so easy and simple to just call somebody an addict, an alcoholic, and actually can't stand those words. Now, when we have the interview or the conversation that we're having, I'm not going to be doing that to you. But I want to say it because it's such a big part of deprogramming, and the people that are following this and those of us that have deprogrammed, to not blame behavior on that this is why you became this, right? And so this might be a new idea because this was part of the brainwashing in the 80s that they actually did to foster children. They said, this is, you have alcoholic thinking. Well, that's absolute horseshit. Like, nobody has alcoholic thinking. You might be a rebellious type. You might be hard-headed. We might be stubborn. We could be all kinds of human things, but that doesn't mean you're going to become addicted unless you believe, wow, you know what I mean? I was told that, like, oh, Monica, but it was really because I was already drinking that I had a nun tell me that. But that part of what you just said is so disturbing because they were actually dragging 13-year-olds from foster care to meetings, no drinking or drug problem yet, and said, this is called alcoholic thinking. There's no such thing as that. But so you actually sound like you did, you went through quite a bit, and then and let me ask you this, we've already talked about it, but you are in what state? Like, what part of the country are you in?
I'm in Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay, so you're in Tennessee. Now, this is the area that was actually mostly targeted, really highly targeted by Purdue Pharma with Oxycontin. Was it Oxycontin that eventually you began to use?
I was never big on Oxycontin. When that was big, I was more into cocaine and ecstasy. That was early 2000s. I had friends that were, and I tried it.
Yeah.
But no, Oxycontin was never my thing. I got really addicted to opiates kind of after that little thing, and it was just standard oxycodone painkillers, and then
like Percocet, oxycodone. It didn't matter if it was an opiate. Painkiller is an opiate, right? I've learned that from watching all these documentaries and talking to people. Okay, so now let's get to the place where, because we know that you went to 12-step, right? And so how about let's talk about that and what happened there.
Okay, so 2018 or 2019, I was big AA person. AA, NA, whatever. I don't hate AA.
Mm-hmm.
That's not why I'm doing this. Is to
Right. It's
preach
okay.
hate towards AA.
That's okay.
I'm doing this to preach to people. There's so much more than AA. It's one small, tiny, little component in a much bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
So AA taught me. That's like I've told you.
Right.
I had a sponsor. I worked all the 12 steps. Had the little spiritual awakening or whatever. That's great. Awesome. Cool. I got that experience.
Right.
But other than that, what was I doing in life? What did I do in life? I was celebrating just not using drugs. Like, what self-defeating mentality is that a successful day? Like, if you were really that bad and that miserable, you might as well fucking start using drugs. That can be harsh. It can be called egotistical, arrogant, whatever.
Right.
But
right.
I've been more than 6 months
Right.
taking Suboxone as medicated than I did in 15 years of walking around with a powerless, self-defeating mentality that AA preaches. I will say that. In 6 months, I've accomplished. I've started going to college. I've gotten recertified as a personal trainer. I'm in a meaningful relationship because I'm not taking advice from people in rooms that have probably never had a healthy relationship. I learned to think for myself, which I could have done the whole time, but I was too insecure. So I needed to go have somebody else tell me, oh, you're so good today because you didn't get drunk today.
Right.
No, that's fine and dandy. Like, okay, progress, not perfection. That's great, but I'm setting myself up to be successful in life. I want to be around people that are like-minded, people that have already achieved what I'm trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not just not drinking or doing drugs.
Right. Right.
Like, that's so far removed. Like, I believe when it's your time, it's your time. A made-up mind is the strongest thing. So
Mm.
in essence, also what I'm saying is I give back to people that want to receive help with my fitness, with going to school for physical therapy, people that need help. And I pass a positive message to them through that. And I preach they're powerful. God gave them a brain for them to use, not to sit back and be like, God, direct me. What am I going to do with my next step right now? Tie my shoe? What? Like, no. Like, okay, so I'd go in any one of those rooms right now and say any of this. And the only thing that would be rebutted would be, that's just your ego talking. Your ego just, whatever. That's what you believe. You believe that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to preach positivity to people and let them know they're powerful and not powerless. So if AA helps somebody, great. Then what? What do we do after that? That's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's really
That's
powerful.
just that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, go on and getting to a place to where I'm okay with myself. You know, I was taught to not be that way, to not be okay with yourself, because then you're in your ego, then you're not in God's will, then you're just cocky.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking, excuse my language. I don't know if you can edit that.
Yeah. Yeah. I won't edit it.
You can get to a place to where you love yourself enough where you won't allow any negativity around you, and you won't allow anybody else to influence you that isn't licensed or have the credentials to influence you.
Mm-hmm.
You will respect yourself enough to be like, okay, well, maybe you were just drunk 3 weeks ago, yet you're telling me what I should do with my finances over here in my bank account. Like, where do the two correlate? Like, again, if AA is used for what it was intended, work the steps to find a God, use it for that. That's it. All this other hangout spot, let's feed each other's egos to build each other up and all that. That's all bullshit in a false sense of feeling like you're somebody. It's not real. It's like it's completely backwards thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things you said reminded me of a meeting that I started to go to in the last, so let's say 5 years over the 36. And there were 100 people there. And it was early. It was like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock on a Saturday. I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like in this, especially because when I first went to it, the only meetings existed were 8 o'clock at night. They were an hour long. You know, nobody went early in the morning. Who would be so stupid to go to an AA meeting in the morning? Like, why aren't you like living your life or go to church or something? Anyway, I looked around the room, and how many people were married is what I said. 100 people. How many people in this room, I heard them talking, and they were all talking about this certain type of success, were happily married or in a healthy relationship. And it was really low. The number was very, very low. And then I did it in my women's meeting. I looked around and I said, how many people are here are mothers? Like, who's a mother? Who's had children? Or maybe step parent even. And, you know, it was kind of a low number. And actually that was really shocking to me, was the lack of mothers. Maybe because I'm in an urban city, right? I could say maybe I was in West LA, but so this was like another point of looking at a group of really broken people that were really fucked up way more than, or chose to be after they stopped drinking, to just focus on this and this. And I mean, I heard people say, well, now you can use it for everything. And like, whenever that started, I mean, we had government people like Newt Gingrich saying, he was the Speaker of the House in the United States government, saying, this book is just great for not alcohol, but something else I had a problem with. I'm like, what, diarrhea? Like, what were you using the big book for besides drinking and drugging that you feel, was it sex? Was it, I mean, I don't know. It was a very weird statement, but this started to happen in the later years, that this thing was great for everything. But what I love that you said was that this whole thing about if you went in there and you were doing well and you wanted to just share that. Oh, your ego. All of a sudden, like an ego is a bad thing. Like they made up this new paradigm of what made a human being. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, everybody needs it. We need a healthy ego actually to survive out there.
Right. Like that's part of being a human, and that's part of going somewhere in your life. If you don't have any gumption or gusto about yourself, if you're just a bump on a log because you have to have this deflated ego and pretend to be this monk, well, okay, to combat that, it would be we're not. It says that in our book we're not saints or whatever. Like, stop trying to pretend like you are. That's the whole freeing thing about it. Is just be a better human.
Right. Right.
It's that simple. Be a better human. Like it just going to the meeting and doing all that fake support ass shit is the most egotistical thing in itself. 90% of those people are oblivious to that.
Well, I mean, also that whole thing about us, that we're different, because with that is that we're better than, like, how can somebody who was once a drunk and then like put themselves together is going to look down on people who are the normies, like the language that they use.
Right. Right.
Right.
Like how are you, like, no, like, let's put it in perspective and keep it real. I'm functioning like a normal human now.
Right.
So who am I to look down on somebody that's been functioning like a normal human their whole life?
Right. Right. It's pretty, well, that's what cults do. I want to talk a little bit about, because we're doing a shorter video today, just about using Suboxone and how much it's helped you. And also, you look pretty sober to me, and you sound pretty sober to me. He looks sober, he sounds sober. So if he walks like a duck, talks like a duck, you must be a duck, which is this total thing I used to hear in AA. But that you look like you're doing so well. So talk about what happened when you did and how they treated you with wanting to use medically assisted treatment.
Okay, I mean, since I've been on Suboxone this go around, I haven't really been to AA, honestly. But in the past, I was, it was like I would have to live a double-sided, a double-minded life in recovery if I was going to be on Suboxone and be a part of AA. Like, no, that's none of their business. I don't have to tell them. When I finally started putting that in my head, that's when this other stuff started seeping in. Like I just take my Suboxone as if a type 2 diabetic takes their insulin. It's just my medicine. If there's nothing else to it, yes, thank you. So now I will say this: with the one sponsor I had, he was a great spiritual man, and he said that he would not give me advice on taking. He's not a doctor, so he couldn't tell me not to take anything. But he did also, slip past judgment and say, "Well, you won't have the same experience as I will." Like, so, over there, table. Sorry. So to me, that's showing some kind of like, why can't I have the same experience as you? How do you know?
You had spiritual arrogance. Oh, and I think I totally would have been, I don't know what I would have thought when I was in it, but made some kind of judgment. I think people who are in it.
Chicken tenders. And I don't know what else he had. I'm sorry.
Okay. You're paying?
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Yeah, so I think that it's spiritual arrogance. So, and I think that I probably might have thought that or felt it once while I was in the while I went, if someone told me that they were, using cannabis medicinally, I'm sure I had that judgment a couple of times. And it was on my way out, realizing how ridiculous that is, right? Because I've seen a lot of people using cannabis, very helpful with alcohol use disorder. And also the Suboxone, because of the groups, when I left, there are plenty of people that came on the blogs back in the day before Facebook and even now on Facebook, that talk about medically assisted treatment, people using naltrexone, and they drink and they use naltrexone. So, I mean, we're getting to the 30-minute marker, which we talked about just doing this short one. I think that already, like I'm happy if you, there was something that you said that I actually wrote it down when we talked on the phone. Well, about positive action, no more self-defeating attitudes, and that you felt that they love to support being a loser, which
Correct. It's okay to have a self-defeating thought process and hide behind that in an AA room because we have alcoholism. Like no, that's what keeps you in an AA room talking about your alcoholism. You have to change your whole perspective. And again, working the 12 steps to get to God, that's great. But that's not necessary.
right.
All you have to do is put one foot in front of the other. And when you do the next right thing, or when you do the right thing, when you do good things, you start to feel better about yourself. That's just how it works. That's how life works.
Mm-hmm.
When you start to feel better about yourself, good things keep happening. That's all it is.
Right.
I'm trying to preach to people how to be more successful in life, not just not using drugs and alcohol. Like I saw a Facebook post where somebody posted 4 years clean and sober today. So that's really all you've done in 4 years is not use drugs and alcohol.
Right.
Like, is that really all you aspire for? Is to not use drugs and alcohol? Like, call me an asshole, arrogant, whatever. But I've gotten to a place where I could give a shit less. Where anybody like that with a self-defeating attitude cares. I don't care what they think. If you don't like me, that's your problem.
Are you climbing a mountain? Are you going up a hill?
No,
No.
I'm running to the car.
Oh my
It's
God.
raining.
That was it raining. Well,
then-
you know, we can finish up. On that note, I think it's so true. When I first went, they kept saying it doesn't matter about time. Like, it's just one day at a time. I was like, why you make such a big deal about time then? Why are you giving out tokens? Why are you doing this 30, 60, 90? And like
Right.
constantly hammering about time if you're sober, like for good, if you decided to quit, right?
Right.
So
Like it doesn't. Like, what does it fucking matter if I've got one day or if I've got 10 years if we're still sitting in the same room talking about the same thing?
Right.
What does it matter? If we're not talking about how to get to the next level in life, then I got nothing for you. We're not the same. And, you know, I'm sorry, some people can't handle that or some people don't like that. But at the end of the day, I've done more than 6 months. You're doing 10 years. Like, when you stay in the same thought process of I'm powerless,
That's so bad.
can't do anything about it.
Yeah,
Keep
that's
coming
it.
here to help other alcoholics. Like, when do you help yourself? When does helping yourself come into play? And no, just helping the next alcoholic is not helping yourself. That's not all there is to it. And that's not all there is to it. And again, I don't hate AA, so I'm not trying to bash it. I'm just trying to make people wake up and understand that there's so much more to this than that. It's outdated. It's from 1935. Like, come on, this is 2022. Like, look at the scientific progression.
Yeah, I know. There's so much more. There's a guy that came in one of the groups who was like really upset that, people were able to drink and or use naltrexone. And I was like, wait a minute, like that's really killed some people, that they were constantly trying to be abstinent and then they would be abstinent and then they would take a whole, like Amy Winehouse, like that skinny little thing with no fat on her body. And, you're not supposed to detox, just stop like that, right? You need like a professional detox. And there's so many other ways, but I want to thank you. I want to wrap it up because you said so many good things. I'm going to end it on all that you just said. And thank you for reaching out to me and we'll stay in touch.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I
you.
enjoy your podcast.
Thanks so much. It was really good. I think you have a good message, and I'm glad I said yes to talking to you.
Thank you.
All
Have a
right.
good day.
All right. You too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Let's see, guys. If I can end this now, I'm going to say goodbye. And I'm going to do another podcast with Valerie that is in Ireland, or she might be in England when she does it. And I'm going to do another one with my friend Gail, who is coming out of Texas. So that will be coming up. All right, everybody. See you again. Bye-bye.